Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of Blue Leadership with your host, Dennis Nair. Dennis is a 26-year law enforcement veteran and retired chief from the state of New York. He's also a proud graduate of the 240th session of the FBI National Academy and the 61st session of the FBI LEDA Command Institute. The Blue Leadership Podcast is brought to you by the nationally ranked Master of Science in Law Enforcement and Public Safety Leadership Program at the University of San Diego. You can learn more about the LEPSL program at criminaljustice.sandiego.edu. And with that, I'll kick things over to your host to introduce our featured guest. Thanks.
Sarah, thank you very much. It's great to be here. Episode number 20. Can't believe how far we are since we started this podcast series. Today, I'm super happy to have Investigator Felix Salazar with the San Diego County District Attorney's Office, and he's an investigator that specializes in elder crimes. And just a little bit about Investigator Salazar: 20 years in law enforcement. Prior to that, spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. During his time in law enforcement, he was both an officer and a detective with both the Carlsbad, California Police Department and the Brawley, California Police Department. Now he's with the San Diego County District Attorney's Office. And I should note, very importantly, he is from the inaugural class of the University of San Diego's Law Enforcement and Public Safety Leadership Program, and has his master's degree as a proud LEPSL graduate. So without further ado, Investigator Salazar, welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Good morning.
Good morning. So we'll jump right in. If, we look at crimes, some of the most important charge we have in law enforcement is to look after and protect the most vulnerable parts of our community: children, the elderly, the disabled, animals. And you do tremendous work with financial scams, specifically against elders. Can you talk a little bit about that and the prevalence?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So I joined the district attorney's office a little over 4 years ago. And my first and only assignment was the elder abuse unit within our main office at the Hall of Justice. And getting to know the ins and outs of the units, I worked closely with the district attorney in charge of the unit, which is Scott Perillo. And he's from New York, but he's a transplant here in San Diego. We got to talking about the issues in the county, and one thing that came up was financial elder scam cases. And at the time, he had been in that position over 10 years, and he had never prosecuted an elder financial crime case. But he had a stack of reports from our local partners that they would forward to him so he can educate himself before he talked to the community. He did a lot of outreach to prevent. The number one question from the community was about elder scams. So we started looking at these cases. I worked up the first case, and it was a grandparent scam where the victim lost a couple $1,000s in gift cards. And they were specifically from Home Depot. Started working with Home Depot. I called them. They gave me a ton of information. Within half an hour phone call, we identified 20 additional victims spread all over the United States that were linked to the same person who used our victim's gift card. So we just kept going and going, looking into these cases. And what we learned right away was we needed federal partners, because the chances of the suspects being in our jurisdiction as the same as the victim were 1 in 100. So we started meeting with our federal partners, HSI, Homeland Security, Secret Service, FBI, everyone you could think of. And we were giving case examples of what we were finding, and they were all very nice. But the next thing we found out was that these federal agencies have a threshold. In order for them to look into cases, they have to be, a certain amount of loss or hundreds of victims. So they don't have a number, but it's generally 500,000 or more in loss. And our victims were losing a couple thousand, maybe 100,000. And at the time, it wasn't enough. They were willing to help, but they also had protocols in place. So we went back to my chain of command, and our elected official, Summer Steffen, and she's our elected DA. She gave us 100% support and said, "Go find us. Let us know how many victims we have, what our loss amount is, and then come back and let us know what you need from us." So that's how we started.
So can you talk a little bit about how you break it down, like really what it entails? So this one was with gift cards, but just specifically, does a person somehow gain the confidence of someone who's of an elderly age? Do they just randomly select people and just hope that someone falls victim to them? What does it usually consist of?
So usually it is a call center or a group of individuals who team up and call a list of numbers, and they'll get these phone numbers, online and black market or YouTube, however they get it, they get their hands on it, and it'll be hundreds, if not thousands, of phone numbers that they call, like telemarketers, and they generally target the elder population. And maybe out of the 100 calls, maybe they might get 9 or 10 victims that actually listen to them, and then a couple that might actually fall for the scam. And the way that these suspects get paid is through gift cards, like we mentioned, wire transfers through their bank accounts, cash currency. They generally have them send it in the mail, or they'll send a person to their residence to pick up the cash. And that's how we had a case that started that way, and we ended up partnering with FBI and the department, U.S. Attorney's Office.
Yeah, one of the terms I heard once, which really best describes everything that occurs online, it's sometimes everywhere at once and nowhere at the same time. And that becomes the challenge, obviously. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, the multi-jurisdictional and the value of partners. But you actually, obviously, it's pretty complex if at the federal level they have these vast amounts, but $1,000 to someone who's a senior citizen could be all their money. I mean, that in itself requires the investigation. And you came up with innovative ways to start doing that and to meet these challenges. Can you share a little bit about some of the methods you and your team use?
Sure, yes. So once we started a partnership with the FBI, they formed the task force, and that's what I'm a part of, the FBI Elder Justice Task Force. And currently the supervisor is Mike Rod, and he worked closely. And before him, Brady Finto was a supervisor who started this for the FBI. But Mike Rod has joined our team about 6-7 months now, and he worked closely with our coordination center, our local coordination center. And we have a team of analysts who not only do their full-time job, but at the same time work with us and coordinate, filter through all these reports that our local partners are sending to them, and they deconflict. And that was the main thing, is there was no deconfliction for these cases. We would be investigating the case, we would call our neighboring county or wherever it hits, and they'll be investigating it, and we have no way of sharing the information. So this was huge, and this is a big priority for FBI when we were forming this. And Mike Rod met, and we have a wonderful team, and I want to give them a shout out. Dory, Alyssa, and Francesca from our local LACC, that they are awesome. They filter all these reports for us and send all that information to us and store it in a regional database that can be shared nationwide. So we're working on that. But it's been huge. And without our partners, it can't just be one investigator or one team working the case. It takes a lot of state, local, and regional and federal partners to make this happen.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to just ask about really the nuts and bolts of it. And I think you just really touched on that, about collaborating with your state, local, and federal partners, because otherwise you're either duplicating your efforts or maybe working things that are conflicting with one another's attempts in an investigation. If an organization was not engaging in that multi-agency collaboration, would it be fair to say that they probably would not have the type of successes that you're having?
Yes, I agree. And every agency, no matter what state or where they're from, everyone we've worked with, and we worked with several agencies all over the United States, they're more than happy to join forces. These cases are not easy. They're complex. A lot of times you're going to hit dead ends. And if we work together, we can educate each other and let us, and find out which case is worth working. So our goal as a task force and as partners for our other partners all over the United States is to educate and let them know what we've learned so they can manage their time wisely and move forward with cases that we can make arrest or get more information for bigger cases in the future.
And is it pretty much known through all of the law enforcement agencies in San Diego County that your DA's office investigators are really a hub for it, so they know that that's the place to go to when someone calls them?
Yes. And when we started this task force, myself and an adult protective services social worker who's a full-time worker with our task force, her name is Nancy Pham Klinger. We both teamed up and put together a training, like a PowerPoint presentation for all patrol briefings in San Diego County. So we met with all our partners. If it was, Friday night, Saturday mornings, or 4 a.m. briefings, we went to every agency, gave them the information of what we can do for them, provided them with some pocket cards that they can put in their uniform when they're on patrol. And it was huge. I mean, they started putting reports out, and we started sharing information because the statistics show that our elder victims, maybe 1 in 25, 1 in 30 actually report these cases to law enforcement. And even when they do report it, we have a lot of our partners who won't take the police report because they believe that the suspects are overseas. There's nothing we can do. We have limited resources, which is not a lie, but we've been educating our partners. Take the report. We'll figure it out. We'll get the resources out there.
Yeah, and this leads actually into the next two questions. So the first question is, how do you get the community to know the value of what you're doing? Because, like, I think you and I talked offline about this, that there's a lot of embarrassment sometimes, or shame, or feeling by the victim that there's nothing that can be done. Is there a method in place to get the community to know, or to kind of urge them to come forward?
Yes. So we have flyers from the DA's office, like pamphlets. FBI has their own pamphlets as well. The message that we when we educate the public is contact your local law enforcement agency, because we all have partners in our agency, and we do a lot of outreach, a lot of presentations. Whoever calls us, we never turn them down. And I mean, we presented at the police chief conference in Dallas, the International Police Chief Conference. A few months back, I presented in Florida for the Regional Gift Card Association, and I answered a lot of law enforcement questions. And since then, we've had a lot of partners with the retail stores. And I mean, you name it. Myself and Scott Perla were teaching all over the place. Our federal partners as well. We have Alex Murray, who's a case agent with FBI, and Mike Rod. They're also teaching. So I mean, in the last year, we've probably given easily 80 to 100 presentations regarding this task force.
And I think to piggyback on that, Dr. Eric Fritzvold, the academic director of this program, he reached out to me after speaking to you and talking about what a great podcast this would be. And I think it was at the IACP that he ran into you, because he was there in Dallas as well.
That's true. I forgot that's where I ran into him last. But Eric Fritzvold's a great professor, great guy, and once you join this program and complete it, you'll be talking with him periodically, if 2-3 times a year, if anything. He's great. He keeps in touch with everyone.
For sure, and that actually blends right into I was going to ask you. So, like the LEPSL program, it continually evolves and is modified from when you were in the inaugural class, but the core is always on leadership, and it's on contemporary topics that have an immediate relevance and practical value. Like some of the courses are data fluency and analysis, and we look at contemporary issues in policing or community engagement. And those are all things that I feel have value to what you're doing, because you're looking at analyzing data, and you need that community engagement part to get the community to come forward and to know that you're there to assist in these types of victimizations, and obviously contemporary issues. This is one. Can you just talk a little bit about the practical value of those courses, or how those courses translate into having that immediate value in a practical sense?
No, and you hit it with all those three topics. That's exactly what we did with this program. But Dr. Fritzfield does a great job of keeping up to date and evolving the program, which is why he's talking to all of us periodically and attending our briefings and trainings. I even when I took it at the time, I felt like it was way ahead of where we were headed, which was great, and it makes you think about how to solve these issues that we're going to encounter. I think it's great. I think Fritzfield, Dr. Fritzfield needs to start thinking about cryptocurrency next, because that's the next thing that we're hitting, that we're running into with this stuff. And but I just want to note that the contemporary issues in law enforcement, this is number one thing that we ran into is, and I'm sure you in your career and all of us when we first started, drugs, dopes, gangs, that was the primary stuff, how these guys were making money. Well, we've learned through social media, through the electronics we've seized, a lot of well-known gangs are shifting from selling drugs to white-collar crimes like fraud, because one, and they'll say it to your face, is they know they're not going to get a lot of time, or they're not going to get caught. It's less risk and more money, more rewards. So they're smart. So yeah, we have to keep up with the times, and I think this program is great for that.
Yeah, and everything, like you said, the level of complexity with your cases is quite high, and that obviously equates to the type of time and person hours that go into working any of these investigations. But having that ability to analyze data, to look at things, from quantitative measures, and being able to look at the nexuses to see where things connect, is huge. And especially, again, in a crime that people are less likely to come forward, I think that's great hearing from you that the practical value it brings.
Right.
What I was going to tie into is, so what advice would you offer? So you've been through the program, how what you've learned actually now translates. You're doing elder crimes, but if someone else was working on human trafficking or whatever, there would be an immediate relevancy and an ability to translate the academic to the practical. What advice would you give for someone who's thinking, what, I want to get my master's program in law enforcement, it's my profession, my calling, and here's the LEPSL program. What would you say to share the value?
So I think it's a great program, especially for people who are still working full-time in their career. It's flexible, and the information you learn is going to help you with your day job. But the thing that I took from this was the networking. Once you've completed this program, you're going to stay in touch with great professors who work all over the United States and have a ton of information that you can reach out to. And another thing is, it challenges you. It's great to challenge yourself. It makes you a better person in the end. So I think this program fits perfect for our career, what we're doing in the community.
Yeah, and I guarantee that the listeners and viewers see Investigator Salazar and your knowledge in this very specific area, knowing that they're equally LEPSL students or graduates, will be much more likely to pick up the phone and reach out to you and say, hey, I got this case. And even if they're somewhere across the country, I guarantee that's going to be a value add.
Yes, for sure.
Words of wisdom. I like to go a little bit general here. What words of wisdom just would you have? Again, we're a leadership-based program. We're trying to develop leaders or further expand their knowledge at the same time. What advice would you have for people currently in the profession that you think would be of value?
What I've always practiced in my career is, when you're in a new position or a position where you can make a difference, and you're told, oh, we do it this way because it's always been like this, don't ever take that for an answer. You're your own person. You can make a difference. You can make it better. That's just my pet peeve is when I hear that. And if I would have listened to that, because everyone told us that same like, oh, you're not gonna be able to arrest people. This has been going on for years. You can't make a difference. Just go try, because if you don't try, you're not gonna succeed. I mean, just challenge yourself and have fun.
Ironically, that ties right into the LEPSL organizational theory and change course, and we cover. That's funny, as a non-scripted question. That's again what your answer is aligned directly with the program.
Right.
From a leadership perspective, podcast, book, anything that you think is a value for people who want to continue to learn and grow as individuals and academics and law enforcement professionals. Is there anything you can recommend?
Yeah, and so I read this book about 6-7 years ago, and since then I've read it 6-7 more times. Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's an awesome book. It's a general leadership book that you can use in any profession you're in anything you do. And my main takeaway from that book is it categorizes the leaders that we work with, and the level 5 leader is rare, but when you find that person, they work well with others, and you can't build a team with 5 level 5 leaders. You need everyone that complements each other, that can, so always look for what's good in other people to complement the mission and goal of what you're going to try to complete. And the way I see that book when I read it, and the overall take from it is, just picture yourself driving a bus, and you're not going to finish driving the bus until you get to the end, which is the goal. And on the way there, who's going to sit on the front passenger seat or in the back, and why are they going to sit there? What are they going to bring to the trip or the bus? And if you look at it that way, you'll be able to accomplish anything. I'm telling you, and I tell everyone, anything's possible, and just go for it. So this book is awesome.
That is great. I think I'm actually going to read that book. I've heard it now, I think, mentioned twice from podcast guests, and I think that's definitely now hit the top of my to-buy list. I know that Sarah's going to come in and close us out, but I just want to say thank you very much. I think hitting on such a key area, which is really focusing on the vulnerable components of our communities, I think is huge. And hopefully the listeners and viewers know that if they have a question, maybe they can reach out to you. And if nothing else, at least maybe they'll keep this on the forefront of knowing that it's not an answer that, well, we can't do anything, that there are now methods in place, and that there is a structure that financial crimes against the elderly now is something that's readily investigated.
Yes, and thank you both so much for your time today. And to our viewers, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to meet the law enforcement heroes and leaders who are a part of the MS-LEPSL family. If you'd like to watch previous episodes of Blue Leadership, you can find them on the video tab of our Facebook page or by searching USD Blue Leadership on YouTube. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time.